Good morning, students. Hope all of you are fine. This lecture is also in continuation of revision of chapter 11, and name of the chapter is Rebels and the Raj. Beta, in previous topic we have discussed about the topic that Awadh in revolt, that how the Awadh people they played very prominent role in this revolt, and we also discussed about the dispossession of talukdar, right? So the today's topic is the vision of unity, what the rebels wanted and what was their vision about the unity. So this is the today's topic. Like the rebel proclamations in 1857, they appeal to all sections of the population irrespective of their caste and creed, because these rebels they just wanted everybody's participation, every people related to all the section, caste and creed. They want everyone to be the part of this rebel. And even many of the proclamations were issued by Muslim princes or in their names. And even they took care of the sentiments of the Hindus also. The rebellion was seen as a war in which both Hindus and Muslim had equally to lose or gain. The Ishtahar means the advertisement or that pamphlets. They hark back to the pre-British Hindu-Muslim past, and they glorified the coexistence of the different communities under the Mughal Empire. And even this proclamation that was issued under the name of Bahadur Shah appealed to the people to join fight under the standards of both Muhammad and Mahavir. So it was remarkable that during the uprising, religious divisions between Hindus and Muslims were hardly noticeable. And as we know that British, their ruling policy was that only that divide and rule. In Bareilly, in western Uttar Pradesh, in December 1857, the British spent rupees 50,000 to incite the Hindu population against the Muslim, but this attempt was also failed. It means now Hindu and Muslim people they united against this Firangi Raj, or we can say this British Raj. Now the next topic is about that is against the symbol of oppression. The proclamation completely rejected everything associated with British rule or Firangi Raj as they called it. Now whatever they were proclaiming, everything was against the British Raj. They condemned the British for the annexation they had carried out and the treaties they had broken. As you know, so many treaties were put on the Indian ruler, like Doctrine of Lapse, Subsidiary Alliance, the issue of misgovernance. So the British, the rebel leader said, could not be trusted. What was the reason of this anger? What enraged the people? It was that how British land revenue settlement had dispossessed landholders, both big and small, and foreign commerce had driven artisans and weaver to ruin. As we know that now those zamidar or landowner they just lost their land, with whether they were big landowners or small landowners. With that, as you know that in medieval time also, pre-British time also, India was involved in a great trade with the European countries, and it was very much profitable for them. But due to industrialization in Europe, especially in Britain, it had driven artisans and weavers to ruin. Now all that work that was done by hand by these weavers and artisans, now it had been done by the machines, which ruined all the work of these people. And every aspect of British rule was attacked, and the Firangi accused of destroying a way of life that was familiar and cherished. Now the rebels wanted to restore that world. Now they wanted their rights back. The proclamation expressed the widespread fear that the British were bent on destroying the caste and the religion of Hindus and Muslims and converting them to Christianity. Now, with that proclamation, they also expressed that how these British people they just wanted to turn up these Hindus and Muslim into Christianity. And that was the fear that led people to believe many of the rumors that circulated at that time. People were eager to come together and fight to save their livelihood, their faith, their honor, and their identity. A fight which was for the greater public good. This was the reason that all the people they united against the Firangi Raj. As noted earlier, in many places, the rebellion against the British they widened into an attack on all those who were seen as allies of the British or local oppressor. As you know, so many people they were associated with these British people, so they were also attacked by these rebellions, whether they were from the Indian origin. Often the rebels deliberately sought to humiliate the elites of a city. Elites होता है the superior class of the city. In the villages, they burnt account books and ransacked moneylenders' houses. This reflected an attempt to overturn traditional hierarchies, rebel against all oppressors. Now, these rebels they were not only against the British rule, they were against the moneylenders also. It just presented an alternative vision, perhaps of a more egalitarian society. बेटा egalitarian society होता है where all the people they have equal rights. That is known as the egalitarian society. So such visions were not articulated in the proclamations, which were to unify all social groups in the fight against Firangi Raj. Now, the next topic is the search for alternative power. Once British rule had collapsed, the rebels in places like Delhi, Lucknow, Kanpur tried to establish some kind of structure of authority and administration. This was, of course, short lived, but the attempt showed that the rebel leadership wanted to restore the pre British world of the 18th century. Means by this attempt, the Indian ruler they had just shown they want their territories back. The leaders went back to the culture of the court. Appointments were made to the various posts, arrangements made for the collection of land revenue and the payment of salary to the troops. Even order issued to stop loot and plunder. So now all these leaders they were just finding out the alternative powers. Side by side, plans were made to fight battles against the British. Chains of command were laid down in the army. The administrative structure established by the rebels were primarily aimed at meeting the demands of war. But in Awadh, where resistance to the British lasted longest, plans of counterattack were being drawn up by the Lucknow court and hierarchies of command were in place as late as the last months of 1857 and the early part of 1858. So this was about that how rebels went towards this revolt. Now the next topic is how British people they were able to repress this revolt. It is very clear from all accounts that we have of 1857 that the British didn't have an easy time in putting down the rebellion. Actually, they just put up their maximum efforts for suppressing this revolt. And before sending out troops to reconquer North India, the British passed a series of laws. And by a number of acts, they were passed in May and June. Not only was the whole of North India put under martial law, but military officers and even ordinary Britons, they were given the power to try and punish Indians. Whosoever was suspected of rebellion, they were hanged publicly. In other words, the ordinary processes of law and trial were suspended, and it was put out that rebellion would have only one punishment, and that was death. So, armed with these newly enacted special laws, the British began the task of suppressing the revolt. Like the rebels recognized the symbolic value of Delhi, the British thus mounted a two-pronged attack. One force moved from Calcutta into North India and the other from the Punjab, which was largely peaceful, to reconquer Delhi. British attempts to recover Delhi began in earliest June, but it was only in the late September that the city was finally captured. The fighting and losing on both sides were heavy, and this was the fact that rebels from all over North India had come to Delhi to defend the capital. In the Gangetic Plain too, the progress of British reconquest was slow. The forces had to reconquer the area village by village, and as they began their counter-insurgency operations, the British realized that they were not dealing with a mere mutiny but an uprising that had huge popular support. As earlier also I told you that this was not a Sepoy mutiny. When it started, then at that time we can call it a Sepoy mutiny, but later on it became the first war of independence. In Awadh, for example, a British official called he just estimated that three-fourths of the adult male population was in rebellion. The area was brought under control only in March 1858. So the British used military power on the gigantic scale, at a very large scale. In large parts of present day UP, where big land holders and peasants had offered united resistance, the British tried to break up the unity by promising to give back to the big landholders their estate. Rebel landholders were dispossessed and the loyal rewarded. Many landholders died fighting the British or they escaped into Nepal. So, this way, this rebel was repressed by Britishers. Means they are to put on their maximum efforts to suppress this revolt. So, beta, this was the topic about today. Hope all of you have understood the topic. Thank you and have a nice day.